Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2783 Red Silk, Domain 1. Has it started? Zhang Yi knew that Noin was directing the other three to attack the spatial barrier together. The guy holding the red ribbon was using his domain power to direct the attacks of the other three to the same point. Despite the perilous situation, Zhang Yi showed no panic. In that pitch-black void, the corners of his mouth turned up slightly, revealing an extremely dangerous, even insane, smile. You all seem to think you know a lot? By sealing off the space and calculating the timing, you've trapped me like a turtle in a jar? I'm sorry, but your understanding of is far from sufficient. As a terminal patient suffering from severe firepower deficiency phobia, my trump cards are far more numerous than you can imagine. Within the red silk realm, a sea of blood surged, and crimson light filled the sky. Three black night-level powerhouses formed a triangular formation, tightly surrounding the enormous black cube. Their expressions were calm, even indifferent. Those who have reached this level of strength have long since abandoned meaningless roars and howls in battle. Killing is as natural to them as breathing. It is a precise art, a calculation that allows no emotional fluctuation. Coordinate correction complete. Noin waved the red curtain in his hand elegantly, like a conductor's baton, and the red ribbons fluttering in the sky seemed to transform into a sophisticated circuit board, adjusting the frequency of the people's energy to the same band. The flow channel has been established. Gentlemen, we may begin. Snort. Titan Karen snorted coldly, his voice like muffled thunder rolling through the clouds. His 6 arms, like the gnarled roots of a katana tree, exerted force once more, each muscle bulging like granite, brimming with explosive power. This time, he held nothing back. The Godslayer bow in his hand let out a mournful shriek. The previously dim old talismans on the bow now lit up, emitting a scarlet blood-red light. In the distance, a phantom image of a long serpent, thousands of meters long, seemed to appear in the void. It was the resentment of the mortal python, which opened its mouth and greedily devoured everything around it. This was forged from the spine of the mortal python that our ancestors slew when chaos first began. Karen's voice was filled with arrogance. Its fangs have crushed countless powerful beings. Today, they are more than enough to pierce your tortoise shell. Collapse. The crimson arrow that slays gods was released from the bow. This arrow no longer pursues speed, but rather the ultimate penetrating power to break through the surface. Where the arrow passed, space was not torn apart, but rather drilled into an unhealable spiral black hole. That was the pinnacle of pure physical laws, the ultimate manifestation of force overcoming all laws. At the same time, the vampire Avel pressed his hands together, his eyes flashing with an eerie red light. Blood God, Great Crimson Lotus Prison. The once raging sea of blood suddenly and eerily calmed down. Immediately afterwards, on the surface of that black cube, countless dazzlingly beautiful blood-red lotus flowers silently bloomed. Each lotus petal is like the sharpest scalpel, its roots deeply embedded in the spatial barrier. Using high-strength bioacids and the power of curses, they frantically corroded and softened Zhang Yi's defensive layer, just like concentrated sulfuric acid was poured on plastic, emitting hissing white smoke. The most fatal blow came from the spider demon, Nozen. His massive body leaned back slightly, and the hundreds of demonic eyes on his abdomen focused on a single point, achieving absolute unity in the previously chaotic vision. Make way for me. A silent ripple spread outwards. This was not a physical attack, nor a powerful impact. It was an irresistible divine decree. He used the power of causality to force that space to crack open. Finally, Noin tightened the red silk in his hand. Ultimate unity. The destructive power of the universe, under Noin's precise control, was perfectly fused together. The piercing power of the god-slaying arrow, The corrosive effect of the blood lotus, the rules of the demon eye, and the guidance of the red silk combined to create an indescribable pillar of destructive light that slammed into the very center of the dark realm beyond. Time seemed to freeze at that moment. Immediately afterwards, snap! A crisp cracking sound rang out jarringly within the enclosed space of red silk. The black cube, which was supposed to be an absolute defense capable of blocking all light, finally gave way. Like tempered glass struck by a hammer, the point of impact was the center, and countless spiderweb-like cracks instantly covered the entire surface. The black fragments began to peel away, revealing the even deeper void within. Boom! With a final, resounding boom, the dark realm beyond shattered. Black spatial fragments scattered and flew everywhere, falling like black snowflakes, revealing the scene inside. We succeeded. A bloodthirsty gleam flashed in Karen's eyes, and the great bow in his hand continued to tremble. Once the spatial barrier breaks, he will become incredibly weak, like a crab that has molted, completely at your mercy. Don't forget what we said. We're going to drink his blood. A powerhouse of this level, his blood must be incredibly delicious. Abel licked his lips, his figure transforming into a bloody shadow as he charged forward, eager to savor the fruits of victory. Vampires can become stronger by consuming blood. The stronger the blood, the better it is for them. They couldn't wait to rush forward and kill Zhang Yi. However, when the smoke clears, the fragments of space settle. The person's expression froze on their face, like a movie scene that had been paused, because there was nothing in the space in front of us. It was completely empty. Where Zhang Yi's figure should have been, there was nothing but a slowly healing void rift. There were no corpses, no bloodstains, no severed limbs, not even a trace of life. There was only a desolate void there, as if no one had ever existed. Where are they? Karen roared in disbelief, his 6 arms flailing angrily. The god-slaying arrow locked onto his vital energy. Even if he were reduced to ashes, it would still hit him. How could he just vanish into thin air? Noin. Where is he? Avel turned to look at the tall, thin man and screamed angrily. Her once alluring face was now distorted by the disappointment of her unfulfilled wish. This is your territory. Even a fly here is under your surveillance. How could he possibly escape? Nob's face looked worse than if he were dead. He stared intently at the empty area, cold sweat beading on his forehead. Chapter 2784 Red Silk Domain 2. The red silk in Noin's hand was still trembling slightly, but he could no longer sense anything. Gone, really gone. Noin muttered to himself, his eyes filled with shock and confusion. As an expert in space systems, he understood what this meant better than anyone else. Within this crimson silk realm, all spatial nodes have been sealed off by me. It's as if he's been removed from the list of this dimension. That's impossible. In a battle between spatial entities, the key is momentum. Whoever gains control of the situation and forces the opponent to stay within their spatial rules will have the upper hand. He's within my domain, suppressed by my rules. How could he possibly escape silently? Unless he's entered a higher dimension that I don't understand. The 4 black knights looked at each other, a strange chill running from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. The greatest fear is not knowing. They weren't afraid if Zhang Yi broke through the encirclement or escaped injured after taking a hit. But this kind of evaporation into thin air, like a ghost, is completely beyond their comprehension. Hey, back to back. If that guy hasn't left here, he must be preparing to launch a surprise attack at some unknown spatial node. Guzan's eyes darted around frantically, letting out a warning roar. As a powerful figure in the realm of rules, his intuition was extremely sharp, and he sensed an unprecedented sense of crisis approaching. However, it was too late. In that moment of surprise and uncertainty, it was less than a meter above the enormous body of the spider demon Guzan. The once peaceful void suddenly felt as if a thin sheet of paper had been gently pierced with a finger. There was no prelude to spatial fluctuations and no sign of energy convergence. The whole appeared so abruptly and so naturally. Immediately afterwards, A black figure stepped out of the cave.
Zhang Yi.
He wore the Godslayer battle armor and the demonic sword in his hand. The divine refinement emitted a chilling, eerie light. His eyes were cold and indifferent, like those of a judge from hell. He didn't teleport, nor did he become invisible. He used an advanced application of the dimensional gate to briefly hide himself in the gap between the real world and another dimension. Hiding in the void. A very simple, yet extremely useful skill. Zhang Yi hadn't used this move in a long time, so from the time the myriad races revived until today, he hadn't encountered a true opponent who could force him into a desperate situation. So no one else knew that Zhang Yi had such a simple and unpretentious move. However, one doesn't necessarily need to possess powerful attacks or dazzling rules. At the right moment, some unassuming little skills can often create miracles. In that narrow space, he belonged neither to reality nor to another world. He was a ghost that did not exist. Therefore, Noin's domain could not sense him, Karen's arrows could not lock onto him, and Aver's sea of blood could not corrode him. The only risk of this move is that there will be a time difference with the present, which will cause a sense of separation between consciousness and body. However, Zhang Yi had long since adapted to this feeling, and his limit was to stay in the spatial rift for 30 minutes. Gotcha, spider. Zhang Yi's figure hung upside down above Guzan's head, like a hawk poised to pounce, its eyes fixed on its prey below. At this moment, Guzan was busy searching his surroundings, completely unaware that death was already riding on his neck. A silver, ancient clock pendulum appeared above Zhang Yi's left eye, and the minute hand moved a notch with a click. In that instant, it was as if the clocks of the entire universe had stopped. Divine skill, a moment in the sky. Buzz. The world, in an instant, lost all its color, turning into the ultimate black and white. The surging sea of blood froze in midair, and every single splash of blood was clearly visible. The fluttering red silk of Noin is frozen like a sculpture, retaining the folds that were blown by the wind. Karen's angry expression was frozen on her face, and her uvula could even be seen trembling from her open mouth. Time stood still at that moment. In this static world where Zhang Yi could move, he descended from the sky like a black lightning bolt. His target was very clear, neither Guzan's entrails nor his head. Because these super ancient species, especially those with enormous bodies, often have extremely strong life force and may even possess multiple life cores. The chance to use the skill, Azure Sky, in an instant is only once, and once used, it cannot be used again for a short period of time. Zhang Yi could not afford to take the risk. So his target is the eyes of the spider demon Guzan. Those few demonic eyes exuded a nauseating aura and were capable of releasing beams of light. Swish, 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 swish. Zhang Yi's demonic blade blurred into countless afterimages. In his state of extreme acceleration, he resembled both a precise surgeon and a crazed killer. Each cut was precisely aimed at piercing the pupil of a demon eye, then with a flick of the wrist, it shattered and was picked out. Uft, uft, uft. Uft. Although no sound could be heard during the stillness of time, Zhang Yi could feel the explosive sensation of the blade's eyeball. A knife. 2 knives. 3 swords. In a mere instant, Zhang Yi unleashed thousands of strikes. He swept across Guzanpang's body like a black whirlwind. In that instant, all of Guzan's several compound eyes, which he was so proud of, were blinded. Green pus burst out, staining his black body a dark green. After completing this task, Zhang Yi flashed away, using the remaining time in the vast sky to instantly retreat 1,000 meters away. Time resumed its flow. Boom. As time resumed, the damage that had been building up on Guzan erupted in an instant. Colors returned to the realm of No, followed by an extremely shrill scream that seemed to tear the soul apart. What? The sound was so powerful that it even shattered the surrounding spatial barriers. Guzan Napang's body convulsed violently, and several jets of blood gushed out from his body at the same time, like a leaky water bag. The green pus and blood rained down, staining the sea of blood below a different color. My eyes. My eyes. Guzan rolled wildly, his enormous body shattering countless layers of red silk, the pain driving him to madness. What's going on? Karen, Avel, and Noin were all stunned, their eyes wide as if they had seen a ghost. What happened in that brief moment? They felt a blur before their eyes, and before they could even see an afterimage, Guzan went blind. Chapter 2785 Infinite Power 1. It's time. He just stopped time. Noin was the first to react. His face turned deathly pale, and his voice trembled. This guy's abilities are as disgusting as ever. Karen and Avery seemed relieved. They were prepared to sacrifice themselves, and of course they knew about Zhang Yi's time-based killing move. However, once it's used on Guzan, it can no longer be used on them. This is a good thing. Although Guzan was severely injured at this time, he was, after all, a Black Knight-level powerhouse and a member of the Spider Demon race, known for their tenacious vitality. After his massive body trembled violently, thick black liquid began to seep from his wounds, and his blinded eye sockets were slowly wriggling and healing at a visible speed. However, he will not be able to use his rule-based ability, Hundred-Eyed Demon Light, for a short period of time. This achieved Zhang Yi's desired goal. Chaos. Pus and blood flowed from Guzan's empty eye sockets. Although he couldn't see, he locked onto Zhang Yi's location with his powerful biological senses. You ruined my eyes, you destroyed my rules, but you can't kill me. As Guzan repaired his body, he let out a venomous roar, his voice like that of a demon from hell. The immortality of the spider demon race is beyond your imagination. Besides, that forbidden skill, Fleeting Sky, can only be used once in a short period of time, right? Can your body withstand the backlash a second time? Now you've played all your cards and the spatial barrier is gone. We still have 4 people? Oh no, even if I'm crippled, we still have 3.5. If we join forces, we can still crush you into mincemeat. Upon hearing what Guzan said, Karen and Aver also realized what was going on. Although they were shocked by Zhang Yi's methods, they still held an absolute advantage in the current situation. Zhang Yi has been exposed, having abandoned his strongest defensive measures and revealed all his trump cards. Although one of them was injured, the other 3 were still at full strength, and their combat power remained absolutely overwhelming. Kill him. Now. Karen roared and drew his bow again, his arm muscles bulging. Avel also let out a shriek, and the sea of blood boiled again, transforming into countless blood dragons that rushed towards Zhang Yi. Facing this group of enemies who had rekindled their killing intent and pounced like mad dogs, Zhang Yi stood in the void. Although his Taishu bathrobe was slightly swaying, his back remained straight, like a sharp sword piercing the sky. He looked at his enemies, who thought they had seen through everything, and suddenly laughed. His laughter was both incredibly bright and incredibly ironic. Have they played all their cards? Zhang Yi shook his head slightly, as if he had heard a huge joke. He slowly raised his head, and in his deep eyes burned a flame called mockery. Do you really think you know me very well? You have studied my spatial teleportation, my time prediction, and even my personality weaknesses, concluding that I am cautious, afraid of death, and only know how to hide. But Zhang Yi slowly opened his arms, making a gesture of embracing the world. At the same time, the space behind him began to tremble violently, emitting a teeth-grinding, crackling sound, as if some enormous creature beyond the capacity of this dimension was about to squeeze in. You know absolutely nothing about me. I am a space-type ability user, that's true. But I've never considered myself a warrior who excels in hand-to-hand combat or one-on-one duels. Those so-called skills and movement techniques are nothing more than defensive techniques I was forced to use. I am better at. A fanatical glint flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes, and his voice suddenly rose. Resource dominance. Rumble, rumble, rumble. As Zhang Yi finished speaking, the spatial rift behind him suddenly tore open, transforming into several enormous dimensional portals with diameters exceeding 1 kilometer. At that moment, the entire red silk space trembled, as if it could not withstand the arrival of this power. An aura of steel from an advanced technological civilization instantly swept away this area filled with primitiveness and barbarity. Open your eyes wide and see clearly for yourself. This is the fighting style I truly excel at. First to emerge was a super battleship, entirely black with sleek, streamlined lines and covered in an antimatter coating. The Dreamer, the dragon, stretching for thousands of meters, resembles a giant deep-sea whale, gliding slowly out of the void with a silent, imposing presence. Next up were two smaller but equally formidable frigates, the Home and the Space. The three warships sailed out of the dimensional portal in a triangular formation, and at that moment, all the densely packed cannons, secondary cannons, and missile launchers were fully charged. The antimatter planet destroyer emitted a despairing, deathly blue light. What the hell is this? Where did they come from? Karen nearly dropped the god-slaying bow from his hand. Having witnessed the power of the Dreamer, they knew how ferocious its antimatter cannon was. Even a Black Knight-level powerhouse would absolutely not want to take a direct hit from an antimatter planet destroyer cannon. What's more, 3 of them appeared at the same time, before they could even recover from their shock. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 13 graceful figures dressed in black battle skirts, wielding giant swords and hand cannons, and sporting mechanical wings flew out of the warship. Armed battle maidens, all activated. They are killing machines from a Martian civilization, devoid of emotion, driven only by the command to kill. And it will continuously evolve and improve itself through battles. Following closely behind were more than 200 Sand Sweeper ultimate combat robots that swarmed out like a swarm of bees. Each of them had been modified by Liu Karen and equipped with special weapons targeting high-level superhumans, densely covering the sky. But that's not all. The final act. Zhang Yi snapped his fingers, his eyes filled with the smugness of a child showing off a toy. Boom. A massive metal fortress, resembling an asteroid, slowly emerged from the largest dimensional portal. That's the main body of the Sky Sea Fortress. A mobile war fortress. A sky city armed to the teeth. The appearance of the directly blocked out the sky of the entire red silk space, casting a shadow that completely enveloped the 4 Black Knights. At the bottom of the fortress, the sky cannon, powerful enough to sink an island with a single shot, was slowly adjusting its angle. The crimson energy sphere emitted a light even more dazzling than the sun. Looking at the terrifying fleet before them, powerful enough to wage an interstellar war, the 4 ancient powerhouses who had just been clamoring to crush Zhang Yi were now completely dumbfounded. Chapter 2780, 6 Infinite Power 2. They were like primitive people wielding stone axes and spears, suddenly confronted by a fully armed aircraft carrier fleet. That kind of despair is a crushing defeat on a dimensional level, a dimensional reduction attack on a level of civilization. Zhang Yi teleported to the top of the Sky Sea Fortress, looking down at the 4 tiny figures above him. The battle suit's hem fluttered in the strong wind, and the sound amplified throughout the space. Perhaps it's because I've been forced into one-on-one battles with other people all these years that you've developed a misconception about me. I thought I was just a slightly stronger alien. But I'm sorry. Zhang Yi waved his hand lightly, and countless cannons behind him simultaneously locked onto the target. This is my strongest and most powerful final fighting style. Firepower coverage is justice. Because of that extreme sense of caution in his heart, that deep-rooted insecurity, Zhang Yi always keeps a backup plan for himself. If they are unsure whether they can find enough supplies to survive next year, they will definitely stockpile supplies for at least 5 or 10 years in advance. The same applies to combat. We'll never prepare only one knife. When the enemy thinks they can win by breaking the knife, we'll secretly pull out an armory. Now it's my turn. In the eerie dimension of the Crimson Silk Realm, filled with blood and twisted rules, the air seemed to instantly solidify into a solid block of lead, so heavy that it was impossible to breathe. As the several dimensional gates behind Zhang Yi, each over 1 meter in diameter, burst open with a deafening roar, a torrent of steel representing another dimension, another civilization's technological pinnacle, descended with a suffocating sense of oppression, and perhaps even with a coldness and arrogance unique to industrial civilization. The enormous metal base of the Sky-Sea fortress obscured the eerie red sky above this space. It is not stationary or suspended, but rather slowly rotates to a low-frequency humming sound. With each rotation, the gravity generator at the bottom disturbs the surrounding space, casting shadows that are as substantial as mountains, pressing heavily and irresistibly on everyone's hearts, a weight that crushes even the soul. 3 super battleships, the Dreamer, the Home, and the Space, hovered in a triangular formation around the fortress. The jet-black light-absorbing coating on the ship's surface swallowed all the surrounding red light, with only the rows of main gun muzzles on the sides of the ship emitting a faint, cold blue glow. The light was not dazzling, but it contained the terrifying power to destroy stars. The engine's low growl caused a spatial resonance, as if countless colossal beasts imprisoned in steel cages were roaring angrily, yearning for blood and destruction. The matter-destroying, planet-destroying cannon had been preheated long ago and was ready to unleash a stunning attack at any moment. Over the course of 2 years, we have achieved technological upgrades, making the matter-destroying planet destroyer faster and more powerful. Let's put it this way, even Zhang Yi himself is unwilling to take a direct hit from them. Meanwhile, on the warship, behind the 13 armed war maidens, mechanical light wings suddenly unfolded. These wings, composed of high-energy particle streams, sliced through the air with a gentle flap. The material lightsabers in their hands emitted black light that stretched for tens of meters, and where the blades pointed, even the void emitted a sizzling sound. They were expressionless, their flawless bionic faces devoid of any emotion, their eyes as cold as ancient ice, like 13 killing goddesses from the future. Add to that the countless Sand Raider, ultimate combat robots flying everywhere, as dense as a swarm of bees, numbering over 200, their red electronic eyes weaving together in the air to form a massive net of death. The entire battlefield situation underwent a fundamental reversal in that instant. This is no longer a simple hunt. It is a clash between civilizations, an asymmetrical war. This is your trump card? The Titan Kalen slowly released the god-slaying bow from his hand. The bow, which had been fully drawn just moments before, was still trembling slightly, emitting a lingering buzzing sound. In Karen's eyes, which were burning with white soul flames, the initial shock gradually faded, replaced by a deeper solemnity and a surge of fighting spirit that was deeply hidden in his bones and not easily detected by a powerful being. It is indeed spectacular. Karen's voice was like 2 rusty, giant metal plates rubbing together violently, harsh and heavy, echoing in the void. For a short-lived civilization that has just stepped into the world of interstellar travel and whose lifespan is less than 1,000,000 years, it is indeed commendable that it can build a fleet of this level. This level of industrial manufacturing capability would definitely be considered upper-middle level, even during the heyday of our Titan race. But he abruptly changed the subject. The muscles on his 6 arms suddenly tensed, and one finger pointed at Zhang Yi high above, his tone filled with arrogance and prejudice as a distant ruler. Chaos, aren't you mistaken about something? Or has it that these past few years of smooth sailing made you forget the true nature of power? We are the Black Knights. We are beings whose life level has leaped, whose physical bodies have evolved, and who have begun to touch upon the fundamental rules of the universe. These pieces of scrap metal, no matter how many there are nothing but soulless, lifeless objects. Can our response speed keep up with our thinking? Can our energy shield withstand the impact of causality? Can our alloy armor withstand the rule-based magic? Using quantity to make up for the quality gap is a naive idea that only the weak would have. All show and no substance, all bark and no bite. The vampire Avel also let out a sharp, cold laugh. Her body, which had transformed into a sea of blood, reformed into a human form in midair. Her scarlet robe fluttered in the energy storm, as if it were dyed with the blood of countless living beings. Technological weapons? Those things are only good for bullying a little guy at the bishop level, or slaughtering an army of mortals without supernatural powers. Avel stretched out her long, pale fingers, the bright red nail polish on her fingertips as alluring as rubies. She made a gesture in the air towards the distant warships, as if mocking these enormous, clumsy machines. My blood can corrode everything, even energy itself. Whether it's a special alloy or a phase shield, it will crumble like a crisp cookie in front of my blood god's curse. Are you gathering all this scrap metal to give me more boring disassembly toys? They are not afraid of high-tech weapons. Even the most powerful energy cannon is meaningless if it cannot hit its target. As Black Knights, how could we be so easily hit?
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.